Okay, good morning, traders. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Rock, how are you? Zach, good morning. Um, I am broadcasting from Canada. I live in the States, but we have a summer cottage up here, and so I am broadcasting from just outside of Kingston, Ontario, about 45 minutes north. Beautiful lake called Lake Opinican. So, question everybody in the room here at Real Life Trading, and I want to welcome everybody from YouTube who might be watching this live or watching in the recording. Do we have any hockey fans in the house? Give me a one if you're a hockey fan. Jalen or Zach, Kyle, cool. All right, so kind of cool. I am going to be broadcasting most of the time that I'm on the air. I'm broadcasting from my neighbor's house, and anybody who might be around my age, I'm 56. So if you're 56 and or close to that, you may know my neighbor's. His name is Todd Gill. 20-year NHL hockey career. Played for Maple Leafs, the Red Wings, the who else? He was a captain of the Sharks. Anyway, so Todd has been gracious enough to let me use, he and his wife have a studio that is a separate building from their house. And so anyway, he has been kind enough to let me use his studio when I'm going to be live on the air. So anyway, shout out to Todd and a special thanks to him. All right, let's take a look at the markets. Can everybody see my screen? I've got my, just give me a one if you can see the screen that's got the S&P and the NASDAQ. Perfect. Cool. Great. Much better audio from, is the audio not good? Oh, it is much better from the studio. Got it. Cool. Okay, good. All right. So, and by the way, speaking of, so I have the sliding doors open. So, I can hear a little bit of noise in the background. If it gets to be too much, just let me know. So I'm just letting the air kind of pass through here. So if you hear noise or background noise and it becomes too much, just, hit me up in the chat here and just let me know, and I'll close these doors. So, all right, let's take a look at the markets. So we have the markets are trading down a little bit today. Not a big surprise if you look at what the markets have done. So here, S&P here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullish days in a row, right? Here, NASDAQ, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So not shocking that both of them have the same number of bullish days in a row. So if anybody was joining me on Friday when we were creating our trading plan, one of my rules is that I cannot take a trade if there are 4 or more candles in the same direction. Well, here's a great example, right? So you get 5 bullish candles in a row in the markets. And if you look here, the NASDAQ is bumping up. This is the daily 50. So it's up against there. So not a big surprise that we would trade down a little bit today. So I threw some fibs on earlier today, and I'll do that again. But, we could, over the next couple of days, just trade down a little bit lower. We're double topish. So you can see the double top here, double topish here. So would not be shocking to trade down a little bit here, make a pivot, and then go bullish. So that's what I'm expecting today, is a little bit of sell-off. Maybe today, tomorrow, get a couple of bearish days. If you look, here's a couple, here's the pullback. The initial push here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same number of candles, pull back, and then back up, right? So wouldn't be surprising to me to see it pull down next couple of days and then go up. Okay, so those are the overall markets. So if we open today, again, we're trading. Right now, we're within Friday's range on the S&P, really close to the low of it. We already poked that through a little bit here. On the Qs, we're looking at an inside day on the NASDAQ. So sorry, that's the NASDAQ, not the Qs, but over here on the Qs. So we'll keep an eye on this and we'll see where we open. Yeah, so Jesse, we're going to take a look at the all of our tickers now. Let me do a different share. So any questions on the overall market there? Nope. Cool. All right, let me move this chat pane also. Let me get that over here. Okay, so let's take a look at, let's go to Tesla. Let's start with Tesla. Okay, let's take a look at it on the daily first. Okay, so again, 1, 2, 3, 4 bullish days in a row last week, right? So upper wick here. So wouldn't be shocking to see pullback, but right now, pre-market, Tesla is actually pushed above the, let's just pull back a little bit. Okay, so the lines here, okay, the green lines here represents the high and low from Friday. So you can see here, we've already pushed through the high on Friday pre-market. This was post-market actually, and then pre-market here, we opened and we're kind of pushing up against it right now. So traded down initially pre-market, and now we are right up against that Friday's high. So we'll keep an eye on that. If we can break above that, obviously Tesla would be in play for the 10 EMA strategy. Tony, how are you? Welcome. Let's see. If you take a look at the high on Friday, so the high here and the high here, right? Pretty close. You can see that. So came up here, tried to get up here before, failed, came back up, tested that level there. But if you look left here, right? So if you look this candle on all three here, you can see that obvious daily support or resistance now, actually previous support, but you can see that there's an obvious area of resistance, overhead resistance. So wouldn't be shocking to see Tesla pull back a little bit, but again, right now it's pushing a little higher, which is a little different from what the overall market is doing. So keep an eye on Tesla. Let's go to NVIDIA. All right, NVIDIA. We are trading within clearly, so, and Tesla as well, trading within Friday's range right now, right? So looking like an inside day on NVIDIA. Expand this a little bit. So again, looking at the daily resistance, right? So coming off this low here, pushing up, not shocking that if you look at these candles here, right? The low of these candles, right? Pretty strong. That's exactly where we traded to on Friday. So do have a little bit of an upper wick here. So there was some selling into the close. So again, green lines represent the high and the low. I do have, this is the 20 on the daily. Here's the 10 on the daily. Those lines, of course, always are over on my intraday chart. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so I put all these lines in. I adjusted all these lines earlier. So let's just move this up. The orange lines represent my high and low. So what's interesting on this, right? So the initial bar, right? This big bearish bar here, right? Pre-market, that's when the pre-market started. I'm not going to put my pre-market high up here because if you look here, we're trading in a range, right? This is clearly in a channel here between the high and the low. So I'm going to ignore this high up here just for the purposes of the pre-market. Just because it is trading all this sideways action, just trading in a channel. So right now, inside day on NVIDIA. Take a look at Amazon. Okay. Amazon here. Inside day, let's just zoom in a little bit more here, right? So what's interesting about Amazon is Friday was an inside day. But again, you look at all these bullish candles you have in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, inside day on Amazon, right? So the inside day, it's building pressure, right? So we have to break above this candle here right now to determine the direction it's going to go, right? So is it going to go bullish or is it going to go bearish? So we got to watch that level. Again, I'm going to wait for this candle to get broken to determine which way it's likely to go. Now, obviously it could throw in some type of trap, but just bear in mind that was an inside day. So we're inside day on Friday. We're looking at an inside day here again. So we're going to be trading within this range. Here's the high and the low, right? And again, we're just kind of chopping around in here. AMD. So AMD did break above. So Friday's candle broke above Thursday's, but look exactly where it got rejected, right at the bottom of these candles here, right? So this bearish candle, bearish candle, bearish candle, traded up to it, tested that level, got rejected. So we do have some overhead resistance there. Here is the, we've got the 20 here on the daily. We have the 10, right? And look where, if I zoom in here a little bit, look where this candle closed and this candle closed, right? Right at the 10 EMA on the, just make sure that is the EMA. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was EMA or SMA, but right there at the 10 EMA on the daily. So it's holding right there. We are looking at an inside day right now. So here's the intraday, right? So high and the low. We are currently making lower highs and lower lows. So we'll have to wait and see if this level gets broken here. Delta. Okay, Delta. What's interesting about Delta, okay, if you look here, so on the daily chart, indecision here, indecision here. There clearly is some overhead resistance right through here, right? Where this candle got rejected, these candles held initially. So overhead resistance, but talking about traps, right? So look at where on the intraday, right? Intraday right now we're trading lower, right? So we did break below Friday's low. We got down there again early. I'm gonna ignore this candle for the time being in terms of the pre-market action. Let me add in. I gotta adjust I'm gonna adjust these lines. All right. Right. So that's the range I'm going to look at for the pre-market. But back to the daily chart, what's interesting about this is, so you had indecision, but not just indecision. The high of this candle here was 30.20. The high of this candle, 30.20. So indecision candles, plus this was an inside day to this candle because it never broke the high. Then what happened on Friday was, again, back to what I was just saying about inside days, you wait for the inside candle to break higher or lower than the previous, right? So would be waiting for this candle to break the higher low of this candle to determine the direction that Delta might go. But you do get that break and then it sold right off. So the question is, and we'll have to keep an eye on this and see if it goes bearish through here, is, was that a trap, right? Because a lot of people who trade the inside candles would have just had their entries right above these two candles because it's clearly the same level, right? Tweezer tops here, 30.20. So there would have been people waiting to go long just on the break of these two candles, thinking, okay, it's going to go bullish. And then they get triggered in, it sells off. Now it looks like it could go lower. So there could be a potential trap on the daily. So just try to recognize those things. And again, all the more reason why I don't take breakouts or breakdowns. I wait for something to break out or break down, hold, then come back and test that level. And that's when I get in. I do that on, I would do that on the daily chart. I do that on the intraday chart. So, but we'll keep an eye on Delta and see if it can, here we're right at the low from Friday. So if we break that, could be a sign of a bull trap here, and then it's just could roll back down. And then with the markets going, looking a little weaker today, likely that could happen. Okay, let's go to Roblox. Now, Roblox is not part of the funded account, so I can't trade it. But let's take a look at what Roblox is doing, because I know that is part of one of the tickers that many of you trade. So again, you get this move higher and it's sold off. So we have this, high upper wick here, kind of a shooting star look. It's, not exactly, because the body is a little bit bigger than I would expect for like a true shooting star, but still you have this high upper wick, and look at all the volume, right? Pretty good volume. So the question is, if you look left here, that volume, the volume on this candle, pretty equivalent to the volume here, right? But look how strong this candle closed compared to this candle. So I'll look at that and think, okay, well, is this potentially exhaustion buying, right? Is it running out of steam? If you look, look at that high, that is on the intraday, right? If you saw that shooting star right there, that would be the reversal signal. That would be the sign to go short, right? And actually would have been a nice short if you had caught that. So the question is this going to pull back down, right? So looking at, zoom out a little bit here, right? So we could look at this as a 1, 2, 3, right? And now is it going to give us a 4 if it comes lower, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, I would expect if this was truly a wave 3, there would be many more bullish candles, right? So strong bullish candles, but looking at just the wave count, way I'm seeing it, it could be a 1, 2, 3. And maybe it was just a weak wave 3. So keep an eye on Roblox in terms of, looks like it's going to be an inside day. Let me go back. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Yeah. So look at this. Just it is inside. Look at all the Cyborg. It's basically in a channel, just like a lot of the other ones that we've looked at, right? So it's just trading within this range here. So mark off on, I don't have this marked off because I can't trade it in funded account, but go ahead and mark off the high and low of Friday's candle, put in your pre-market high, pre-market low, and also note the levels of these major moving average. So these are the daily here, right? So you get the daily 100, the 50, you have the 10 and the 20 here. So mark those off on your chart as well so you can see those. All right. Airbnb, another one that is not part of the funded account, those of you who are trading the funded account. But let's take a look. Right, so Friday's candle, the high of this one, 98.12, the high here, 97.55. So it did break above it. It is trading. We do have this. Here's the 10 here. That's potentially holding it up. Just drop that in real quick, just so we can see where that is in relation to, yeah. So right now we're trading below that level right now. But again, not a lot of pre-market action here, right? There's not a huge amount of volume pre-market. You do have, this is the 20 here on the daily, 20 EMA. So mark those off, get all your lines in there if you're looking to trade Airbnb. We've got 9 minutes left before the market opens. I want to just take a look at the potential gaps outside of the tickers that we are looking at. So here's I'm going to drag this over here. This is my pre-market scanner that I have. This is from Interactive Brokers. So here's the scanner that I use that gives me my pre-market gaps. And as we were talking on Friday, those of you who were in my workshop for creating a trading plan. So what I'm looking for is, when I'm looking at these gaps, I'm looking for something that is like a micro gap of like 2% up to 7%. Okay, so in that range, so plenty of options here. And what I do when I'm looking at my gap down list, or so gap down, gap up, sometimes there are so many of these that you can't even look at them all. So I just go through and I just look for the big names that I know, Twitter, Fastly, Las Vegas Sands. So I'll go through this and I will just focus on the tickers that I know, versus trying to go through every single one, because that can be extremely time consuming. So let's just take a look at some of the gaps that are out there right now. Okay, so Twitter, we saw this on Friday. We knew that this was a gap and go, right? We saw that Friday. But if you look at Twitter, like the price action here doesn't really, this candle, I was watching Twitter on Friday, and when it opened, and I'm looking for a gap and go. So I'm really looking for it to move bearish at that point. And it did initially, and then it got bought up, and then it just kind of slowly throughout the day went lower. Right. So I did not trade Twitter. This would have made me insane having to sit through all this for the whole day. Like for a gap and go, I want to see it again. I want to see it gap, and I want to see it just run. Maybe give me 1 or 2 opportunities to get in, but just keep seeing it waterfall, moving quickly. But so we do have a gap down on Twitter. This would be a retest gap. Right. So for all of you who are learning the gap system, you have a bearish candle gapping down. Right. So we're going to open down here. So it's a retest gap. So expect the retest potentially of the underside of this candle, but do expect a retest. If you look to trade Twitter, let's take a look at and I'm looking at the gap downs now, because it's the market looks like it's going to be moving lower. So I want to trade with the market if I can. So again, wind's going to gap down, bearish candle. So it's going to be a retest gap. And the other thing I'll do is, when I'm scanning through here and I'm looking at these, I'm like, okay, well, how good is that gap? Who's trapped? So I'm looking at all these candles here. I see the low of this, right? If I just drop the line here and go, okay, well, pretty good, right? So it's gapping below this level, right? So all this chop here, right? All of these, and let's see, this might have been some of these were inside candles, but all this chop through here, building pressure, and now it's gapping below that. So that could end up being a nice something to trade. Hang on one sec. I'm going to grab a pad of paper. I want to make some notes. Be right back. All right, I am going to put win on a list that I'm going to keep, because I do want to check that out throughout the day. But the other thing I do when I'm looking at these quickly is I want to see, are there gap and goes, right? So we know Friday there were a lot of bullish candles. So the question is, are any of these gap and goes? Because that's what I'd love to find first. Okay, so LVS is going to be another retest gap. Let's look at Fastly. All right, another retest gap. So one thing to note here, right? You have a retest gap. It is gapping down, right? But if you look at here, right now, it is gapping right down to this support area, the bottom of this candle, all these moving averages, and it's right down there now. So if it opens, right, it really needs to break down below that too for anybody, because nobody here right now is terrified. Nobody here is at all worried about it, right? If anybody who is got long through here, Okay, it's gapping down, but it's not clearing this candle right now. It's trading above it. Take a look at SLB. So another retest gap. So all of these gaps that I'm looking at for gap downs look like they're going to be retest gaps, which is fine. But I just would love to find a gap and go, just something that I know should move quickly. So any questions? We have 3 more minutes before market open. If there's anything you want me to take a look at, just put it in the chat pane. Let's see. We have a pretty good group here in terms of the, we've got Dan Jansen, Johnny Guarco, Thomas Wong from the RLT crew joining us. Everybody's here. Gentlemen, glad to have you here. Hector, buenos dias. Roku, sure thing. Let's take a look at Roku. Okay, so Roku. Let's first check it out on the daily, right? So a little bit of a sell-off, right? After this would have been a big bullish candle initially, selling off. So right now it is going to be an inside day, right? So the low from Friday, if you drop your lines in there, right? I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not getting the exact low, but so you can clearly see that the price action is above the low of Friday. So right now, just trading inside, right? Inside day. So expect some chop. Nothing, that I see there that is jumps out at me as anything, earth shattering in terms of which direction it could go. It's just right now, it's just, inside, but that was a nice move on Friday, right? Really nice move. If you drop in a trend line here, kind of see, right? So for all the you who like trend lines, you can see it's clearly bumping up against this level here. Touched it here, here, and here. So keep an eye on that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the, we have market is opening. I'm going to stop the live feed. I want to thank everyone from YouTube who was joining us. If you like what you see, please feel free to go over to reallifetrading.com, join the community. It is a great one. Subscribe, get all the updates and new videos from Real Life Trading on our YouTube channel, and have a great day. Happy trading.